am going to do Brad Pitt's natal chart as requested. And when I first saw this chart, the first thing I saw was the Sun 25 degrees in the first house and Mars 10 degrees in the first house. And the first thing I said to myself is, this doesn't make any sense whatsoever, because having the Sun in the first house and Mars in the first house signifies a person that's very egotistical and has a lot of energy. Okay, and I don't really see that from Brad Pitt, but it is in Sagittarius. So, and Sagittarius is a very humble sign, and they're very philosophical. They have a lot of wisdom, and they're not very generally geared towards egotism like Leo would be, okay, or Aries. You know, Sagittarius is a mutual sign, so it's more of a low-key sign, although it likes excitement, but it's not really geared towards egotism. But the Sun here would signify a very egotistical person that likes to be the center of attention, and having Mars here is a very hard will-driven person that likes to have its own way. So I was like, Brad Pitt, well, he is a very physical person, and he's got Mars 10 degrees in Capricorn. Capricorn is an earth sign, which has to do with the physical aspects of yourself, and it's a very hard sign. So I could see it with his his rock body that he plays in his movies, with all the action going on. I do see that there. But the Sun here, I was like, well, he's always quiet in the interviews, He never really says much, and it's really not about him. So, but then I saw 19 degrees Saturn in the third house of communication, dampening his communication. So I was like, oh, okay, so he's got Saturn in the third house, which actually balances the energy of the Sun, and Mars in the first house, okay, of overpowering. Because my mom has Mars in the first house, and my mom cannot keep her mouth shut, and he keeps his mouth shut. In interviews, he just says what he needs to say, and that's it. So having Saturn here in the third house actually balances these two, major energies here that would totally unbalance him as an individual, okay? So he's got Saturn 19 degrees in the third house in Aquarius. So he's a very logical and rational person when he speaks, and he just tries to get to the point. He's not really much into gossip. So I could see why, why he is the way he is. Now, Brad Pitt is born in Sagittarius, 25 degrees in Sagittarius, and he also has a rising sign in Sagittarius. So he's hardcore Sagittarius pretty much. But he does have a Capricorn body, a very well-structured body, very muscular. And Mars signifies our physical traits, because Mars is the most physical planet. Now, he's got Sagittarius rising, which means that he's a very free spirit. He likes to laugh. Also the Sun there. He doesn't like commitment, but when he really loves someone, he will commit to that person. He needs freedom. He needs mental stimulation, because Sagittarius is a very smart sign. They love religion. They love to have fun. They're like the clowns of the zodiac. So Brad Pitt is a very how do I say an easygoing person, and he likes to argue. Don't get me wrong, but having the fact that he's got Saturn here in the 19 degrees in the third house, kind of structures his argument. He'll just hold back a bit. Now, he's got 23 degrees Venus in Capricorn, and he's got 22 degrees the Moon in Capricorn. That's another thing right here, okay? Having Capricorn Moon, you don't really know what the person's thinking. Like, they hold back their feelings. They could stonewall you if they get emotionally triggered, and they'll just shut down. Like, I used to date someone with Capricorn Moon, and everything was great, but there was issues, and then he couldn't express himself. He had a lot of difficulty, expressing his emotions, and like he was scared to crack open. So that's another thing here that Brad has, along with the Saturn in the third house, that holds him back from being boisterous in interviews, and just let Angelina take over when he used to be with her. And he really didn't say much. You really have to probe things out of him. And he's got it in conjunction, semi-conjunction with Venus. So having this aspect here could mean that he would hide his relationships, okay, his love matters really well because he values it in the second house of value and possession. And he also got Mercury 16 degrees in Capricorn, so the way he communicates is very careful. Okay, this whole chart really is becoming to unfold as a very careful communicator. Okay, with all these Capricorn, especially Saturn, which is it rules Capricorn in the third house of the voice and communication. Now, Brad has also another reserved placement. Jupiter 9 degrees in Aries, which is the warrior, and the warrior is placed in the fourth house of family and privacy. So he is the warrior behind closed doors. Like, he's the one that probably initiates issues behind closed doors. Having Jupiter here in the fourth house could extend his family. He could have a lot of children. Also, the fifth house is ruled by children, but the fourth house is generally ruled by the mother and father, but it could also mean an extension of the family. So he's going to have a lot of children here. Brad Pitt has Neptune 16 degrees in the 12th house in Scorpio. So he's like a deep dreamer, but nobody really knows what he dreams about because it's hidden in the 12th house. And Neptune also has to do with alcoholism, drugs, because it rules Pisces, So it has to do with disassociativeness. And having it here in the 12th house could mean that could be an issue in his subconscious, that's hidden behind, that nobody really knows about, the issue with the alcohol. Now, it seems like this Neptune here in the 12th house is aiding his Mercury. So it's kind of like you've got to drink before he speaks, because it's sextiling 16 degrees. However, having this here could impair his speech, as he's got 16 degrees semi-squaring 19 degrees Saturn in the third house. Okay? So now Brad has 12 degrees the north node heading to the 8th house here in Cancer. So the aim and the direction he's heading to is more of power, of transformation. I would say more of transformation because he's gone through a lot. And it's heading towards the 8th house, okay, of the occult also. He also has these aspects here, these placements here that are aiding him into heading into this direction. So whatever had to do in the second house of possession of value that he had actually is aiding him to go to the 8th house. Whatever happened here with the lady that was hidden and with the moon conjunct Venus, all of this is aiding him here, okay, to go into the 8th house of the unknown, okay, and of mystery. Now he's got 10 degrees Uranus right here and in Virgo, okay, and it falls sort of like between the 9th house and the 10th house of reputation, the 9th house of being global and traveling, religion, and philosophy. He also got Pluto here, 14 degrees, in the 10th house in Virgo. So what does this say? That he needs to be in control of his image, but he has very little control of it because it keeps changing. People see him as a person that could shock you, especially with the issue that he had with cheating, and that image kind of stayed for many years. So it was a very predominant theme throughout his whole life. And this placement of Uranus is actually trining his Mars, his ego, in the first house. So people probably viewed him as a very egotistical man, very selfish indeed, but also as a person that could really shock you in his movies with his strength and his charisma, okay? Now he's got 14 degrees Pluto, which is semi-sextiling Neptune in the 12th house, which could symbolize that he channels very well the characters that he imagines very well in the 10th house of reputation, and that's where he gains his power. Like Troy was a very hierarchy movie, okay, where she portrayed a warrior, and he's got here Mars in the first house and Apollo, the sun, in the first house. So he portrayed a person of power and a history figure. So you could definitely see that was one of the leading roles that made him famous, all right, having it here in the 10th house of reputation, okay? So this has been the chart reading for Brad Pitt. And if you guys would like a natal chart reading with me, go to the description below. All the information is there. And I hope you guys enjoy this segment. Namaste, guys. Hey guys, check out my music channel where I write my own music, sing, and play piano. Make sure to subscribe.